What evil prank have you pulled off? Two of my friends have never met each other. Before they spoke, I told both of them that the other is a bit deaf. They shouted at each other for a few minutes before they realized that I'm an asshole. I mean, this is the perfect prank. There's a little bit of embarrassment, but mostly just confusion on both of their parts. My mum's laptop wallpaper was a picture of her granddaughter. I copied the picture 100 times and made her wallpaper a slideshow of the same picture over and over again, so the file would change but nothing would change visibly on the monitor. The pictures would change every 10 seconds. On one of the images I painted a tiny little curly mustache on her. So randomly for 10 seconds my niece would have a mustache. My mum thought she was either losing her mind or had a computer virus, and every time the mustache popped up, it was gone by the time she tried to show anyone. I did something similar to a college friend. I replaced a single system sound file, the click for the mouse, with a 5-minute version. It started off identical, followed by 4 minutes and 50 seconds of silence, but at the end, it had me screaming. Now if another system sound would play, it stopped playing the previous sound. So he would use his computer, and then when he would walk away, it might scream 5 minutes later. One summer in college, I worked in the registrar's office, registering all the incoming freshmen. A professor who was a mentor to me was teaching a freshman seminar and asked me to hand-pick a class for her. Straight A students, high SATs, whatever. So I did. 15 students, all named Sarah. I mean, it's awesome because when she got the roster it must have been a truly WTF moment for her. But in the classroom culture that inevitably develops, Sarah becomes as meaningful as Miss, and she just full names everybody anyway. A beautiful crime, and truly victimless. I lived in Korea for a bit. When my mom came to visit, I told my Korean girlfriend it was an American custom to greet older women by touching elbows. I told my mom the same story about Korean customs. It was a thing of beauty. They were not pleased. I made fake versions of Internet Explorer that turn your PC off when started in the ICT class at school. My friend did something similar. He set up a URL so that when you visited it you would automatically download a file. That file would change your desktop background to the famous Windows Bliss BG 10 minutes later. He went into Apple stores all of the time and left with all of their display Macs appearing as Windows. Subtle but effective. I saw a post about switching around mayo and vanilla pudding. Emptied out a mayo jar and cleaned it well, filled it with a few pots worth of vanilla pudding and took it to uni. Our uni is very lax about eating during the lectures, so I waited until midday when I was sitting in the middle of all my friends and they were all eating their lunch. Cue me taking out the jar of mayo and a spoon, popping the lid and taking a big old spoonful with a grin. At first only the closest ones noticed, but after the third spoon it was like everyone was frozen around me. Pin drop silence. After the fifth spoon someone faux-retched and the spell was broken. The looks of sheer terror and disgust was well worth the pain of eating vanilla pudding. I'm a chocolate kinda gal. One of my friends let me know he was going to pull this prank, so I helped him fill a jar with pudding. Then I swapped his jar of mayo pudding with a regular jar of mayo. When my brother and I were in middle school, my brother liked to skateboard with our next-door neighbor. One day, my brother and the neighbor took the sheet of plywood from under my brother's upper bunk bed. No one slept in the upper bunk, out of the house, and started making a skateboard ramp out of it in the neighbor's adjacent yard. My parents had explicitly told him that he wasn't allowed to do that. Now, in my defense, my brother teased me unmercifully, to the point of tears, on multiple occasions, so keep in mind that he had had it coming for a long time. Anyway, an evil little plan hatched in my brain. I ran to the upstairs window and yelled down at them, "Brother's name, guess what? Mom knows everything and she is so mad. Then I slammed the window shut and ran to the stairs and waited while watching my mom read the newspaper. A few moments later, my brother walks in the front door looking worried and says, "Mom, I'm so sorry." My mom, who had no idea what was going on, said, "About what?" while slowly putting the newspaper down. "For making a skateboard ramp out of the wood from the bunk bed." "You did what?" At that moment, a wave of shock and realization swept across my brother's face and our eyes met. I let out the biggest evilest little sister cackle and ran into my room. We are adults now and still laugh about it from time to time. The AM supervisor at my office is a short little man who likes to work from a laptop on a rolling adjustable desk. For over a year I gradually raised the height of this desk and watched as he went from sitting on a stool, to an adjustable tall task chair, to standing. Last week he removed the wheels from the desk to lower the height. He doesn't realize it's adjustable. A friend kept trying to steal my sushi off my plate at a sushi restaurant. So while she wasn't looking I stuffed it full of wasabi, put a bit of fish back on top to cover my tracks, and pretended to not be looking when she started reaching towards it. She tossed it into her mouth, started chewing down, and I just swung my head towards her to say "You fucked up." 5 minutes of coughing, muffled screaming, and copious amounts of water later, she had learnt her lesson. I farted under the covers, then pointed at the ceiling above my GF and shouted "Spider." So she'd throw the blankets over her head. Later when she told her parents, that turned out to be the thing that earned her dad's respect for me. Made him laugh so hard he needed an inhaler. Not me, but a story my mom used to tell on my dad. I don't know what it was about my dad's digestive system, but anything he ate came out smelling bad. Really bad. As in, after he was in the bathroom no one else could go in there for at least a half hour longer if he forgot to open the window. Honestly, the smell would gag a maggot. Heaven forbid you be the one mom sent in there to open the window when he forgot. One night Dad came home from work, night shift, got in bed, stuck his butt out of the covers and passed a really rancid one, then pulled the covers up over his head so he didn't have to smell it. But what he didn't know was that Mom had eaten something for supper that was just as noxious on its way out. She waited till he got his head under the covers and got a good seal on it, and let one rip. She said he came out from under those covers like a shot, gagging the whole time. One night I replaced every framed object in my boss's office with a picture of me making a stern face. Posters, certificates, photos, etc. took like 3 hours because he had like 30 framed things in his office. The next day I made sure I was out doing field work to make him sit with it most of the day. He had a lot of foot traffic to look at his office that day. I worked in an office that had 4 offices with shared partitions that had glass at the top. My neighbor wasn't the most observant person and kind of a dick, so I started printing random pictures like Nicolas Cage and setting them on my side of the office facing into his. He never noticed. It got to the point where everyone else in the office would check what photo I had set that week, but he never caught on. I remember it like it was yesterday. At summer camp my cabin's leaders found a little snake that wasn't doing so well, so they decided to put it in an old terrarium in our cabin. A few of the guys were nervous about it. So the next day when the leaders decided the snake was well enough to release, I asked that they keep quiet about releasing it. When the other guys got back to the cabin and found no snake in the terrarium, chaos ensued. I thought my mom was cool with me having a pet snake. We went weeks without issue. So one night I'm letting it lay on my stomach while I watched TV, and at some point he decided to drop down and check out underneath the couch. His name was Breakfast. Kids are weird, and I say oh man. Breakfast is under the couch. My mom was sitting maybe 15 feet away in our little office space, and she jumps up on the desk chair and starts screaming about the loose snake. Breakfast wasn't allowed out for TV time much after that. One that was played on me. I took my SATs, college entrance exams, for those outside the US, on April 1st. Should have known, right? But apparently, I'm not that smart. That night I went out with a group of friends, and when I got home my mom met me with a serious look on her face. She told me that the testing committee had called, that there had been an error and all test papers from that day were lost. Everyone was being contacted to schedule a date to retake the exam. She totally sold it. Face, reactions, everything. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And she let me believe it until lunchtime the next day. My mom is a diabolical person. Over a decade ago I worked in the warehouse of a guitar center. We dealt with inventory, shipping and receiving. We had a dumpster behind the store in a shared parking lot that people would leave random things in even though it was not a public dumpster. One day we found a broken beach chair in an open cardboard box. The box had a shipping label on it. It was left in such a way that it was easy to assume that the chair/box combo was left by the same person. We packed the beach chair in another box and shipped it back to the customer. I wish I was there to see the person's face when they received their trash back via UPS. If you like the content, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the like button.